or visit the NBA app. By the way, we're seeing history. This could be it right here by Brown. Short. Takes it, kicks it. Tillman, step back, three, short. Kolek is on Pritchard. Hauser, it's a three for the record. Junior. That's NBA basketball. Pritchard with a three. No! Back out to Hauser, a three for the record. No! Rebound, Pritchard out to Tillman. Pritchard, three. This could be the record. No!
Does this ever get boring to you guys? NBA games in 2024 have turned into one big three-point contest. It seems like every shot is either a three-pointer, a layup or dunk, or a free throw. Teams are avoiding the mid-range like it's the plague. In the clip I just showed you guys of the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks, they shot 91 combined threes this game. As a matter of fact, the Celtics are leading the NBA in three-point attempts by a lot. The next closest team, the Charlotte Hornets, are shooting about 5.5 less threes a game than Boston. And it's not just current teams that the Celtics are blowing out of the water. There's no team in NBA history that's attempted the volume of three-pointers that Boston's taking right now. The pioneers for this long ball barrage is obviously none other than Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, who completely changed the game in 2015, being the first team to primarily use the three-point shot to win a championship. If we put the Warriors' last 4 championships plus their 2016 season on this chart, the Warriors aren't even close to what the Celtics are doing today. Is the three-point revolution quickly becoming out of hand? Are three-pointers ruining the game of basketball?
The league needs to change some rules. They have finally figured out it's not only that 3 is worth more than 2, it's that 3 is worth a lot more than 2. Because there is a 50% premium on three-point shots, the smart way to play is probably what the Celtics did on opening night. Shoot 60 of them things. That is the best strategy. That is also terrible television. And I love the league. I love it. But this is not sustainable. At its core, the NBA is at its best when dudes are flying over people, meeting them at the rim. Hanging out at the three-point line, hoisting 30-footers is not good TV. And you are going down a path where the games are less compelling television and the fans are worried, do the players even care? It's just a warning to a league I love. You are playing a dangerous, dangerous game.
So what's really different with the modern version of the NBA compared to 50 years, 20 years, 10 years, and even just 5 years ago? Has the NBA really changed this much over its history? I mean, at the end of the day, you're still just putting an orange ball into a red basket. How much different can it really be? Well, the NBA has changed a lot over its history. If I had to describe how the NBA has changed as the game has progressed over time, I would say one word: optimization. It's just the natural evolution of the sport. Players, coaches, and organizations have simply optimized their players' decisions and play styles that they deploy for winning basketball. Players have objectively become more skilled, athletic, intelligent, and just flat out better than their peers from prior eras, on average. Coaches have deployed certain schemes, motions, and play styles, especially on the offensive end, that are more suited for winning basketball. Organizations are the ones overseeing both coaches and players, getting the most optimal player-coach setups that mesh with each other to create winning basketball. And you can thank all of these optimizations due to the surge of analytics in the NBA. With all the advanced and hyper-specific player data that the league has been keeping track of for the last 20 to 30 years, teams know exactly what players and playstyles produce winning basketball, information that previous generations simply didn't have. The NBA has changed a lot recently. Teams are shooting threes like there's no tomorrow. Right here, we have a graph that shows the shot value of two-pointers versus three-pointers ever since the three-point shot was created. Shot value is calculated by multiplying the chance of making a shot by the shot's value. At first, the three-point shot was just seen as a gimmick. Teams barely took them, and teams weren't really great at making them either. It really wasn't until the early 90s where the shot value of a 2 and the 3 started to balance out, right around 1 point per shot, and it especially increased into the mid to late 90s where the league decreased the length of the three-point shot, incentivizing teams to take more of them. But it only took about 20 more years and a 6'3" flamethrower to win a championship, while only shooting threes, for the rest of the league to realize that getting good at shooting three-pointers 3-pointers, and shooting a lot of them was the way to win games. When we take a look at the frequency of 2-point shots and 3-point shots, we have never been in a closer era of 2s and 3s taken. The average team today is taking about 42 threes a game. That's about 1 3-pointer every 1 minute and 15 seconds. Like we mentioned before, the 2016 Warriors took 11 less 3-pointers per game on average compared to a normal team in 2024. The 3-point attempt rate has exploded ever since the creation of the line, from around 3% of shots being taken from 3 in 1980 to about 42% of shots being 3-pointers in 2024. Now, quick question. If I were to ask you how much better the average player today is at shooting 3-pointers compared to players of the past, what would you say? A lot? A good amount? Maybe just a little bit? Well, what if I told you that the NBA technically hasn't gotten that much better at 3-point shooting? Well, kinda. The average 3-point shooting percentage really hasn't increased a whole lot since around the mid-90s, plateauing around that 35% mark. It's a similar story with normal field goal percentage. Teams aren't actually getting better at shooting, but except they have. NBA offenses have just become, like we mentioned, more optimized for scoring big, despite not actually shooting that much better from the field. Turnover rate in the NBA is hovering around 11 to 13% compared to the 15 to 16% area it used to be at. Offenses, despite many metrics, have become better, leading to more players actually being capable of taking high amounts of 3-point shots while still being efficient, leading to more points being scored. Steph Curry, ever since 2016, has not had a season where he averaged less than 9.5 3-point attempts a game. Excluding his 2020 season where he only played 5 games, Curry has only had one season of his last 9 where he shot under 40% from 3. You could not tell me with a straight face that any player before the 3-point revolution could shoot this efficient from 3 while taking this many shots. Oh, what? You mean Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, Kyle Korver, Glenn Rice, Steve Nash, Dale Ellis, JJ Redick, Mike Miller? They don't even compare to Steph Curry. And these are all of the old legends' best seasons, by the way. As a matter of fact, in the 2025 season, there are 10 players that are shooting over 8.9 3-point shots a game. They're right here. And what's funny about this is that all of the players on this chart from the modern day are superstars that are taking high volumes of 3-point shots, decreasing their efficiency. Many of the old players were taking way less shots, which inflates their efficiency. If we take a look at the best 3-point shooters in the league, based purely on 3-point field goal percentage, it looks a little like this. There is no other era in basketball that is this talented at shooting the long ball at this high of a clip. But the NBA hasn't just turned into a 3-point shootout, it's quickly became one of the most repetitive styles of basketball. During a game between the Charlotte Hornets and the Atlanta Hawks towards the beginning of the season, Vasilije Micic hit this mid-range shot with 1 minute and 45 seconds left in the first quarter. What's so special about this moment, you ask? Well, this mid-range bucket marks the very last mid-range shot that the Hornets would take for the rest of this game, while the Hawks only scored 2 other mid-range shots this entire game. Both teams exclusively scored from threes, layups or dunks, and free throws, besides these 3 combined shots. Well, this is just one game of many NBA games this year. This game represents the extreme all-or-nothing mentality that players, coaches, and organizations have towards offense. Right here, we have a graph that shows the shot value of each distance on the floor. 0 to 3 foot shots are clearly the highest percentage shot, with a shot value as high as 1.4 in the modern game. Coming in at second place, we have 3-point shots, which are hovering right around that 1 mark. And finally, we have every other shot, aka mid-range shots, which are clearly a step below super close shots and threes. The NBA has become an all-or-nothing league. If you can't get a good look right around the rim, just shoot a 3. When we look at the frequency of shots taken from these ranges, once again, the 3-point shot and the close 2 dominate this chart. These are the analytics that NBA organizations and coaches are looking at in a nutshell. It's as clear as day that the most efficient shots a team can take right now are right at the rim or a 3-pointer. So it only makes sense that teams are jacking up as many threes as they can until their arms fall off, which opens up the entire floor and leaves the easiest shot on the floor wide open more often than not. This is the evolution of the NBA. Teams have cracked the code for winning basketball. It only took about 35 years since the 3-point line was invented for teams to realize that this gimmick of a shot was actually the key to their success. But there's one huge problem that the NBA is facing. Like Nick Wright said earlier, shooting exclusively threes, free throws, and layups gets really boring really fast. Many NBA fans, and especially older ones, aren't a fan of this new style of basketball. The NBA is at a really crucial moment right here.
Feed is that the mid-range game is being lost. Nowadays, what you're seeing, guys pump fake and step sideways.
But how they are now, or do you think there should be a little bit more balance to your era?
Well, I think there should be some balance.
Yeah.
I think it's really heavily weighted right now with the three-point shot.
But it's so hard to play defense in today's game because they allow the offense to go wherever they want.
If I was to play in this era where it's wide open, if I can average 33, I'm going to just take it up to 43.
You have guys standing out there heaving up threes that's really not three-point shooters.
Do something about the three-point shot, because I'm telling you, Ron, the problem is only going to get worse. These guys are not going to get worse at shooting threes. Right. They're only going to get better.
NBA ratings are down. Why? What is going on? Is the NBA turning off fans? What is it the league is doing?
Analytics is ruining the NBA product.
I think it's no secret that there's a huge portion of NBA fans and basketball watchers that aren't pleased with the current iteration of the NBA. Seeing a three-point contest every single game, along with a few layups and dunks sprinkled in between, gets really boring to a lot of people. But is the NBA really in a worse place than it was just 5, 10, 20 years ago? Well, you could actually argue that the NBA is at its best spot in the league's timeline. Financially speaking, the NBA is doing phenomenal right now, raking in close to $12 billion in the year 2024 alone. Besides the sharp dip around 2020 and 2021 caused by the pandemic, the NBA over the last 2 decades has been progressively trending upwards, increasing its revenue pretty much every year. In the 2016 and 17 season, LeBron James was the highest paid NBA player, making a whopping $30,963,450 that season. There are 48 players in the league right now that are making more money than a prime Captain America. In the 2009 and 10 season, Kobe Bryant signed his huge 7-year contract where he was the highest paid player in the league that year, making $23,034,375. There are 71 players in the league right now making more money than a prime Black Mamba. In the 1999 and 2000 season, Shaquille O'Neal was the highest paid player in the NBA, making a whopping $17,142,000 that year. There are, and get ready for it, exactly 100 players making more money than a prime Diesel in today's game. I think it's no secret that the NBA is a walking gold mine in 2024. But despite the financial success the league has seen recently, it feels like the product of the NBA has fallen off recently. Right here, this chart demonstrates the average viewership and ratings of the NBA Finals all the way back until 1986. As we can see, there's a reason that people call the 80s and 90s the golden era of basketball. The ratings of the league were at its highest point ever, peaking during the 1998 Finals and the 1993 Finals at around a score of 18. And the average viewership peaked as well. In the 1993 Finals, it had an average viewership of 27 million, and in the 1998 Finals, it was just short of 30 million. But ever since Jordan retired, right here on this graph, the ratings and views just haven't been the same. The best quality basketball we've gotten since Jordan was the NBA Finals with the Cavs and Warriors in the 2010s, where the viewership was in the low 20 millions and ratings were in between 11 and 12. And if you thought it couldn't get worse, the hit the league took during the pandemic seems to have stayed 4 years later. However, I do think these numbers in the last couple of years are slightly deflated due to the rise of streaming services and illegal websites. But you can't honestly tell me Hulu, League Pass, and Stream East are the only reasons for this massive decline in viewer satisfaction. Something else is going on in the NBA that's ruining the game. The NBA is going down a really dangerous path. It's pretty clear that a large portion of basketball fans don't like the current version of the NBA and would much prefer a lot more variety in games, while the analytics say the complete opposite, even supporting more three-pointers than what are taken today. The golden question to answer here is, are there any ways to satisfy both parties at the same time? Creating a more entertaining and diverse way to appeal to the casual fan while still playing for the best shots according to the analytics to appeal to the coaches, managers, and stat nerds? Or is this problem just too far beyond fixable? Well, I think there's a couple of solutions that the NBA could implement to attempt to balance out the game and create close to equal value in all types of shots. The corner three-pointer has quickly become one of the most popular shots to take in the modern NBA. Just drive and kick a few times and boom, you'll eventually find a guy open in the corner. The corner three has become one of the most broken shots in the game of basketball. In the current season, outside of the restricted area, the corner three has been by far the most valuable shot to take, yielding close to 1.2 points per shot. Many fans have talked about changing the three-point line to its natural arc for all three-point shots, eliminating the corner three entirely. But how would this affect the game in real time? Well, I think it would leave an awkward dead spot in the corner at first and probably kill the drive and kick offenses, but I think this would do a better job of balancing twos and threes. Right here, this chart shows the shot value of a corner three-pointer in green, a non-corner three-pointer in dark gray, and any three-point shot in general in light gray. If we were to hypothetically get rid of the corner three, this is what the shot value of all threes would look like in red. It goes down from 1.1 to 1.07. If we compare these numbers to the shot value of a two-pointer, this change would incentivize twos a lot more. Another popular change idea is to simply make the three-point arc farther back. Instead of 23.9 inches, what if we hypothetically pushed it back to 25 feet? According to the stats from NBA.com, NBA players are taking 23.2 field goal attempts per game on average from 25 feet or farther, while connecting on about 8.26 of them, which comes out as a percentage of 35.6%. What's surprising is that this change would leave a near identical shift in the shot value of a three-pointer as the no corner three change would have, both having three-point shot values at a hair under 1.07. Now, as much as these changes would bring more balance to twos and threes in the game, I think we're ignoring something really big here. We're not focused on the types of two-point shots that would be taken, because these two previous changes would just lead to more points scored right below the rim. What if we hypothetically made mid-range shots worth 2.5 points instead of just 2? Would we go back to the 90s and 2000s with more mid-range shots, or would this just fix nothing? As we've mentioned in this video multiple times, one of the big problems of the modern NBA is the lack of value that most teams see in the mid-range shot. When we look at the shot value from 0 to 8 feet, 8 to 16 feet, 16 to 24 feet, and 24 plus feet, it's pretty clear that shots from 0 to 8 feet are by far the highest percentage shot to take, with a huge drop-off going from the two mid-range areas. So what if we hypothetically created a basketball court where this close range was worth 2, everything outside of it and inside the three-point line was worth 2.5, and threes obviously being worth 3. If this was the court we played on, the shot value of all 4 ranges would shift to this, making the mid-range shot by far closer in value to easy 2s and 3s. The final solution I have is just to make dunks worth 3 points. Simple as that. What NBA fan wouldn't want to see more dunks per game, more highlight throwdowns, and more athletic and high-flying basketball? But who are we kidding? Are these changes really going to happen? As much as I want to say yes, they're probably not going to happen. The truth is, as long as there aren't any solid changes to the difficulty or value of different shots, nothing's really going to change. Coaches and managers are still going to play by the analytics and play the extremely boring and repetitive brand of basketball that many fans today hate. We're only going to see more and more three-pointers and restricted area shots. We're only going to see teams use the exact same plays every single time. You either play by the winning strategy or get left behind. But is there a limit to how many threes teams are willing to jack up in one game? It seems like the number of three-point shots that are being attempted per game is only going up. Well, if we look at the optimal three-point volume range, we would actually have our answer. This chart shows the record of teams based on the percentage of shots which they take are three-pointers. At the very left of this chart, we have games where teams only took about 20 to 35% of their shot attempts from 3, which clearly isn't enough to keep up in today's game. In the middle ranges, around 35 to 45%, but mostly pretty middle of the road, with the highest record being 21-9 and the lowest being 18-22. But once you shoot more than 45% of your shots from three-point range, you start to hit the sweet spot for winning in the NBA. teams that shoot between 45 and 50% of their shots from 3 have by far the best winning percentage on here, as high as a 25 and 15 record. But once you cross the 50% threshold, where you start taking more 3s than you do 2s, you put yourself in a dangerous territory where the statistical advantage of taking a lot of 3s starts to diminish. Now I want you to pause this video and take a guess as to which range the NBA average is at right now. Got your answer? Well, if you were paying attention for the whole video, you would know that the 3-point attempt rate in today's game is at 42.2%, which fits into this bucket. The NBA still has a lot more 3-point attempts to be taken before coaches and managers will ever consider dialing it back. Of course, teams just aren't going to all of a sudden take 45 to 50% of 3-point attempts overnight, purely based off numbers, but this data suggests that teams aren't quite done implementing the infrastructure on their rosters in order to meet this optimal 3-point range while still maintaining their efficiency from deep. Or in other words, this is why NBA analytics might have just ruined the game of basketball.